This sketchbook is one that I had just at my desk while I was working in Salt Lake for an advertising agency. And if I had an idea or a quick thought, I would just grab it out. Really, really cool cover. Love the illustration, just this rigid board that it's on. Anyway, I would just grab this out and just sketch away, just to make sure that idea didn't leave me. So I'll go through this really quick. Not a lot of final stuff here, but just random ideas, some of them more developed than others. Some of them just scribbled. Looks like one of my kids got to that one. Figure study there. Okay, this one has a lot more. Some notes. And this comes inside of a kind of an activity book, and some of the illustrations are based on the activities that are suggested, and others are just whatever. And pages of notes from meetings. Some thumbnails for some graphic design projects I was working on regarding temples. And Steve Carell appears in several sketchbooks, as does LeBron James. Like I said, some of these pages suggest to draw something specific, like this suggests to draw a wrestler. Here are some early versions of conference sketches. These were not done during conference, but I did them watching somewhere else, which is why they're in blue pencil and not in red. Another version of Smurfette. And we'll also see some exploration with some Prisma markers, some grayscale markers that are really fun to use. This was back in the day when we had money dolls, these blank dolls that had zero personality, just form, and you would draw on whatever you'd like. I must have been exploring some different ideas with these large circular headed dolls. And I had to be careful wherever I was using these, just so that it ruined the illustration on the other side of the paper. This page I was exploring this idea of just capturing the a pose or a likeness or a gesture of different people that I had dated, and it was gonna, there was a whole story behind it, but it sat right there. It didn't really go much further than just some sketches. So. And some friends from the choir. This took place right after we went on tour. And some practice sketching, exploration there. And here were some sketches. This happened, I'd reached out to someone who ran a blog called The Green Lemon, the daughter of author Richard Paul Evans. Anyway, just reached out and asked, hey, how about I illustrate some stuff for you? I really like your writing. She was probably pretty surprised to hear that, but I just needed an engaging project to work on, and it was a lot of fun. So I came up with these illustrations and then redrew them in a computer with different sayings. This one said something along the lines of, you don't have to take my word for it, or I feel the need to read, just some quirky sayings. These were drawings that I had created as I was designing a coloring book for Intermountain Healthcare, just the initial sketches that I redrew in the computer to make them final. Oh, Michael Jackson gesture here. Steve Jobs. And some sketches of some puppets that I made. Cinderella's prince and Rapunzel's prince. This was in conjunction with being in the play Into the Woods. Conan. Again, another opportunity. I reached out to a friend who was writing a book and just offered to illustrate for the cover. And some more exploration with that marker. There's Martin Luther King. And from a different sketchbook altogether. This one was folded to fit inside of a frame. I had it up on the wall for a little bit. Here we've got the characters of Seinfeld just exploring their faces in a group. And there we have it. I'd shared that I had a sketchbook near my desk, or just at my desk, at an advertising agency where I was working. This is actually the one that I had on my desk. The other one was a little less full than I thought, but this one's chock full of different things. So I'm gonna go in. Here's a branding project for an electrician. Bunch of random ideas, some quick gesture poses, faces. And so I was using a different pencil, still blue, but a different kind of lead. There's an Obama. This was taking place during the 2008 election. So we've got some of the characters from that election. Biden, King, Palin. Some exploration of a hula dancer for a picture I was putting together. And some layout explorations of a piece that I put together that I titled Sue Lemon. Put a lemonade recipe on there, and always linked that picture with Neil Diamond's Sue Lemon song. When we go on vacation, especially when the kids were young, I would put together a little activity book. Here was some of the beginnings of an idea that I had for that activity book. This one turned out to be kind of the cover of that little booklet where they would just have a crossword puzzle or a maze or a dot to put to do while we were road tripping. Betty Boop. Peruvian style for a Peruvian friend. Here's the theme too that I've drawn a couple of times, which is this idea of a father opening a pickle jar or some sort of jar that has a lid that's hard to open. It seems like that's a just display of trust in this person that has the ability of strength, and just such a random, simple little act like opening a jar. One of my daughters. Some boxers. Pam from The Office? What do you think? Yes? No? Another Obama? Here I'm exploring some anagrams, which are words that appear the same upside down and right side up. This would be the name Aiden, A-I-D-E-N. And you turn that upside down and it's the same. Some sketches of some Hanna-Barbera characters as I was exploring a poster to create. There's a Scooby-Doo right there. And a Wilma, action pose Wilma. One of the only projects that I got to do creatively at the agency. I was a producer, and so my job was more tactical and kind of process oriented, and was able to put my creative efforts to use here, and like the result. Here's some more illustrations, kind of the sketches for the IHC coloring book. Until they'll have kind of a healthcare theme. Here was a idea for the cover, which the cover is actually kind of the collar area of a doctor. The idea was that the child reading or working in the book could hold the book cover up, or the coloring book up, under their chin, and it would look like they were a doctor. Send that into the upside down. Sketch based on Tiger Woods, and then I don't have a lot of animal gestures, but they do show up from time to time. There's a dog over here. Now here are some original sketches of a project, another creative project that I was fortunate to work on. It was kind of a side project. It wasn't for a client, it was for the Boy Scouts of America, and our executive creative director, Brent Watts, asked me if I'd be interested in putting together some ideas. I think mostly because there wasn't a budget for one of the other illustrators on staff to do this, and I had the bandwidth and the interest to do it. So it was great to be able to do this with an art director for the first time, which was a new experience for me. And we had just these huge banners that featured climbing with a high degree of foreshortening here, which was fun to practice. Some hiking, windsurfing. It was cool to see those created as massive banners later on for the Boy Scout Jamboree. Another Darren Williams exploration. And looks like I'm exploring something for a marathon here. Maybe those posters. Yep, for sure. In fact, some initial sketches from some characters that showed up on one of the posters. Some more rats for the gym rat piece. And some graphic design exploration here. Some Spider-Man poses as well, why not? This was also for a project at Word. They were needing to explore some gestures for the Spider-Man that was being produced at the time. And really quick, here's another one that was kind of the same time period. This one I kept in my car, and so when I would be going to and from work, I would have, if I had some downtime between arriving at choir, which is just a few minutes away, to be able to sit and sketch. So here's some initial sketches from some brainstorming that I was doing when I was coming up with my son's little logo. Oldest son. This is much more sloppy in nature, and the paper is very toothy. And of course I'm just using a pen that was in my car. And the final logo looks a lot like this version. And there's a lot of funny empty pages in this one. Here's some characters that I was looking at as I was watching the show Lost. Peter's logo actually breaks down, the shapes break down into very simple shapes, and I put these together to create some imaginative things like a car and a plane. This was probably the sketchbook I began using when I started getting more serious about drawing gestures, and I can just sense there's a little bit of discomfort actually drawing something that's, you know, either wearing something form-fitting or not wearing anything. And say what you will about that, but I am of the opinion that it's very, very helpful, especially when you're trying to dial in your abilities. And here's a sweet note from my wife. It must have been in the house somewhere. Of course it was in the house because I have kids' scribbles all over it. Yeah, I think these were probably some of the first 2 gesture drawings, and they're just very tentative. There's no flow. It was almost like I was scared to even lay down any of these lines, and you just have to get through that. Dressed or not dressed, you've got to do it. And that might be the end of that one. Let's see. Yes, it is. More paper to use. Shouldn't waste it.